time to forge the narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined tonight by Adam Camilleri.
It is a great day for 40k, Paul, and therefore the world.
It is. We are the Battle of Lost Souls podcast. Man, so I've been building Sanguinary Guard. I think I am the world's largest consumer of aftermarket Sanguinary Guard bits.
Where do you buy them, by the way? Like, are you just eBaying
or different places? Yeah, get them from friends, trading some sites, stuff. I mean, these are, like the weapons, because the kit itself doesn't come with 5 swords.
Well, it's really, you can really tell how old that kit is when you crack it open, because like the new GW kits, every millimeter of space available is taken up with something. Like, you look at the frame and you're like, there is something everywhere here. You got those old kits, you crack them open. Like I built a box dreadnought the other day, and I cracked that kit open, and I'm like, okay, there's like 6 bits in this whole box. And the Sangard are quite similar, aren't they?
You're exactly right. It's still a fabulous kit. I mean, especially for the current price that it is. I know we don't talk about that much, but like, it's one of those like big value kits because there's all kind of bits in there. There's Blood Angel icons and daggers and things you can really dress up some of your other models if you so choose. I am a minimalist when it comes. Like, I don't really like putting on pouches that I didn't have to paint. Or stuff.
Yeah.
The kit itself, it doesn't come with enough to give everybody swords, which is, I think, the optimal build is 10 swords in a unit.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And then maybe can you put it, is it a fist or a hammer you can put?
It's a fist. You get a fist or an axe. And, just with the innate ability of the Blood Angels, with getting that +1 to wound, I just don't feel like the trade-off for the fist or the axe is worth it. Yeah,
that's true. I was actually talking last night with some mates about Sanguinary Guard, because I had a friend of mine who was just asking, what's the new Blood Angel stuff? What do they do? We talked about Sangard and the Angelus Bolter. That's strength 4 -1 damage, yeah?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
But is it assault? Because it's a wrist mounted?
I believe it to be assault. I can tell you in 2 shakes, but yep.
Well, it's definitely not heavy. So in Tactical Doctrine on turn 2, when you're most likely to drop these guys, it becomes -2. And then I think there's a stratagem in the new Blood Angels to give them ignores, cover, and rerolls to wound for their Angelus bolt guns.
Yes.
So you drop down, and they're effectively strength 4 -3 if your opponent's in cover, rerolling to wound. Because -2 ignores cover is essentially -3 for all intents and purposes. That's pretty good on those little weapons that you come down and all of a sudden you kill that one unit, and then you still got your nice wrap target, or you're going to go blitz into their assault centurions or their other big chunky meaty whatever. I think that's pretty awesome.
Being a filthy Iron Hands player that I was, basically. Meta chaser. Look, I get it. I know what everyone's saying right now. What I was doing, I was finding myself almost like feeling like shortchanged whenever I'd stay, because you stay in the Devastator Doctrine. You never have to leave. It's one of the reasons they're so powerful, because their doctrine is always on turn 1 or whatever, right? But as I'm firing some of this like bolter stuff, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm missing out, with all these things. I need to design something that lets me interact, be in the Tactical Doctrine for a lot of times.
I suppose that's you hit the nail on the head. That's the strength of Iron Hands. They start at max damage output and max efficiency, and they stay there their entire game.
Yeah.
There's no waiting for turn 2 or turn 3 to get to your best output. You're there, and you stay there, and you're there from turn 1. I'm not a huge fan of the Assault Doctrine buffs, like for White Scars and Blood Angels. Having to wait to turn 3 to get your best output, I just feel like in this game at the moment, where everything is so killy and there's so much pressure put upon you, and a lot of games can just be decided by who gets the big coup de grace blow first. In some matchups, I'm not sure you have the luxury of waiting till turn 3. Like, if you're playing a mono Blood Angels army, what have you got sitting on the back of the board that's going to do meaningful damage, that's actually going to interact with your opponent, that's not just going to get like poleaxed by a standard guard artillery gun line or a couple of tank commanders that's sitting there, and you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs until turn 3. I feel like, and on top of that, I think White Scars need the Assault Doctrine a little bit more than Blood Angels do.
Yeah.
Because, like,
the Blood Angels is like more win. So the Blood Angel one you get a +1 attack, which my theory on that is that it just kind of makes up for your losing models to attrition. It's as if you had a couple of more models in your unit. And their strength is that +1 to charge and the +1 to wound in the first interaction of combat. That's where I think you make your money with Blood Angels. Sorry, go ahead.
Spot on, man. Like, I think their Assault Doctrine bonus is just that. It's a bonus. It's not something you should like be considering that is the core mechanic of your army. I mean, like a big brick of Death Company or Sangard, what are they not killing on the charge anyway? As if they needed the +1 attack to begin with. Like, what are you trying to kill 2 knights in 1 turn? Yeah, fair enough. Wait till turn 3. Like, but anything less than that, you're going to go straight through it anyway. So yeah,
Death Company with 6 attacks apiece or something on the charge when you unleash rage on them is it's going to chew through some things.
Yeah. Have you looked into Death Company intercessors? Is there what's the points difference between them and a basic intercessor?
It's only 1 point. It's only 1 point more.
Wow, but it's an elite slot rather than
it is. That's the rub. It's an elite slot, and they are if you have the spots to take them, then yes, take them. But I don't believe that you should take them. I think I would rather see the Death Company upgrade be just X amount of points, and you get to splash it on whatever unit you want. That would be great.
Well, instead they have it instead of Indominus Crusaders. You know how regular Space Marines can pay a CP at the start of the game, or you can pay a CP to make your jump cap or your captain into a Visions of Sanguinius or whatever. Yep. Make him into a Death Company. It should be like 1 CP for a 5-man, 2 CP for a 10-man, or something like that at the start of the game.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Yeah, have to write it into your list. An idea that I had was a unit of 6 Death Company with a Power Sword or a Thunderhammer guy and an Impulsor. And having 2 or 3 units of that, because there's no other little unit in the game that really hold up to them on the charge, because they'll have 2 attacks base, +1 for Death Company, +1 for Shock Assault. They'll have 4 attacks, 5 attacks on the Sarge, and with the +1 to wound, they go through any other small, like, objective holder units.
I think you could effectively, if you wanted to play that Impulsor game, which is I feel like it's going to be real.
So do I, man.
You could think of worse things to put in there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and a Thunderhammer, a 5-attack Thunderhammer, like Sergeant, just his Sergeant and 5 attacks, fantastic. But do they also get the 6+ Feel No Pain?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's not only significant, because you look at let's say you got a 5-man, the 10 wounds in there. Statistically, that means you've got essentially a 6th guy when it's all said and done. Because the likelihood of you rolling 2 6s across those 10 wounds is pretty high. But then in some games you might get lucky and you have the equivalent of saying 7 guys when you're getting shot at. So there's some pretty awesome stuff there. It also gets pretty wonky when people are doing 2 damage weapons to you, like people are shooting autocannons into those guys. If your first guy or second guy makes one of his 6s on his 6-ups, it's all of a sudden it's a whole nother autocannon shot that's going to be wasted going into that, or Stalker Bolters or whatever other 2 damage stuff you can think of.
Yeah, what I do like about the Death Company Intercessors is that they get the weapon loadout of the Intercessors. Like I'd like to put chainswords on everybody. I get it, and that's actually one of the big grievances that some people have, especially Blood Angel fanboys have, that you can't close combat equip them past the Sarge. But those rifles and different types of rifles have a real utility aspect.
I agree. I actually prefer them like that. Although if they had the option for a heavy bolt pistol and a chainsword, that would be pretty sweet. But if it was just like them taking an ordinary bolt pistol and a chainsword and giving up that excellent bolt rifle, I don't know if that's a good trade. I mean, thematically, it would look incredible, though, wouldn't it? It would look, with these guys,
No, I'm with you. Look, I'm right there with you on that. I 100% agree that it would be cool if you could make them and then also give them jump packs. Put those big bulky intercessor jump packs or Inceptor jump packs on them, man. Look, we need that.
They're Death Company aggressors. Let's go the whole hog. Stuff it.
Yes. Okay. I mean, maybe I'm too eager.
You're like, yes, okay, I'll have another box of that cereal. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But maybe we'll get there. But look, I am also not wishlisting for the Blood Angels. They're at least a solid B tier codex right now.
Yeah, and I'm okay with the other Space Marine, like the non-Codex Space Marine chapters being around that level. Like, it's obvious that GW wants the Space Marines to be the poster boys again, the central poster boy driving force of the game, because they've given them so many buffs. Like, you think, we thought Chaos was getting a buff in the Psychic Awakening book. Nah, they buffed Marines as well. There's a whole swathe of stuff in there to buff Marines. Yeah, like, it's obvious that they want Space Marines to be the poster boy again, like they were in the days of, like, say, Assault on Black Reach.
Man, when everybody's got Marines. I mean, yeah, it's not a bad thing.
It's not. It's just indicative of how, I guess, centralized 40k becomes army-wise, where, GW wants you to start with Space Marines. They want you to start with the vanilla, the easy to paint. They bring out ways to paint them easier, play them easier, get your models easier. And the quality of models, the quality of push fit models by GW has actually blown my mind. I didn't think they could make them that good. I always thought push fit was the second class citizen of So it was push fit, and then there was fine cast, and then there was plastic, and then there was Forge World.
That was your hierarchy of
that was the hierarchy
of what you thought
now
it was.
The plastic's actually catching up to Forge World, if not in some ways exceeding it. And Finecast has actually gotten a lot better. Like, I actually bought a Finecast Drago the other day, and he is actually perfect. There is not a bubble, there is not a blemish, there is nothing wrong with that model whatsoever. I also bought a Voldus, and I put them together, and the plastic Voldus is, I have to say, better than Drago. But that is because Voldus is about 10 years younger than Drago, so model-wise. So that's fair, I think.
Oh, man, when that happened, when Drago went to Finecast, I had people offering me, like, serious money for my metal Drago.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I'm never getting rid of him. He's the man.
Just make sure he's the man, actually. Make sure you dog crate that bad boy, because the last thing you want to do is him slipping over on a realm of battle board and scraping half his face off.
Oh, that's the perils of metal miniatures. We're in a good
tragic
place model-wise. Like, you said you hit the nail on the head with the plastics. They are so good. And then the kits, like the Sanguinary Guard, when that kit came out, it was pretty epic. I mean, the bodies of the miniatures are a little bit taller, a little bit like a little bit of a scale up from what the Marines at the time were. And let me tell you, I broke a sword off one of them, and I can't find the blade, and it's infuriating.
Oh no!
So I've gotten creative, and I've replaced it. It turns out I was trying to clip off one of the Death Company power swords out of that kit, and I broke off the little pommel thing on it because the way it was on the sprue. I mean, totally my fault. I did it. I'm like, man, well, now I can never use this sword again. Turns out with a little clipping, that sword now fits on the Sanguinary Guard.
Fantastic.
And now the sword has like another angel wing on it, but like, who cares? Now I got like 5 angel wings on this guy. He still looks good though. You can't tell unless you get up there really close.
That's awesome. I love the heads on them. I've actually those heads of the Death Mask helmets are fantastic.
They are. I've used it for Stern Guard unit too.
There's so many useful options for them. Here's a challenge for you, Paul. Should you choose to accept it, make some Sangard-esque intercessors. Put the Death Mask heads on some intercessors and paint them gold.
You know they fit right.
They would fit all of them. Like all the Space Marine stuff's interchangeable except the legs, because naturally the legs is where the biggest change in girth and length has occurred.
Yep.
But have you seen the Horus Heresy Blood Angels guys, the precursors to the Sangard?
Yes.
What are they called? Blood Angels Legion Dawnbreaker Cohort. They are sexy. They are very good looking models.
They've got those those wrist mounted. I was like, what's up with this blunderbuss on there? It turns out they're grenade launchers.
They are. Holy wow! I actually didn't notice that before. They're double barrel grenade launchers.
Yeah, they get to do some black. Look, this is not me. I'm not critiquing the rules. I asked. I'm like, man, those are some really good Banginius bits that I'm about to acquire. I would like to know what to do with some of these things that don't fit on other Smash Captains.
They look like they've got their own mark of jump pack as well. They actually look like all their stuff looks very unique to them, which I like. Only criticism I'll say is they're on those flight stands do nothing for me.
Yeah,
G-Dub's curved see-through flight stands, the ones that come in like all the new Primera stuff. Yeah. I am not a fan.
They're difficult to work with. I'm not either. You got to get like real creative. I mean, I've gone so far as to some of them. I solve probably too many hobby problems with fire than I should.
Yep. Continue. This sounds like a good story.
Yeah. But like with some of the flight stands, I found you can actually like melt it and then stick it on the model, and it holds for a little while longer than it would normally.
So longer than the 10 minutes it would last.
You might get it through a whole game. You know.
Yeah. Oh wow. Tell me where to sign up.
Or when you're putting it in the foam, like this is where actually they snap for me, because I'm pretty careful with my models, throughout the game or whatever. But when I'm putting them in the foam, I have glued on so many Inceptor base stands. I feel like it's been my job.
I took them off the stands. I've actually just glued them onto a base. Like they're all got their legs up. Looks like they're leaping more than they're flying now.
For advantage.
If anybody actually complains, I just let them have it. It's like,
the advantage of keeping my models on a base. That's what.
Exactly. The advantage of having usable models still outweighs any possible ifs or buts. As for I really find those flight stands are prohibitively brittle. I don't know why they're so brittle, but they have no flex in them whatsoever. They've got no give.
They need a socket to fit into. So I think that's the next evolution for me is I'll just make a socket for them to fit into, because it's that cup that cup that's the different kind of plastic from what you're sticking it on, and then the super glue just doesn't seem to want to like really bind it, you know?
Yeah, well, I've had some super glues that semi-melt it, and some super glues that do literally nothing. Like they might as well be I might as well be pouring water on it and hoping it's going to stick.
You just go with the fire. I mean, it's
fire. Yeah, just burn it.
Yeah, it solves a lot of problems with fire. The other problem that I solve is when my plastic glue with the ones with the metal applicator, when that clogs up and I've inevitably lost that little rod that goes in there for the 1,000th time, you just have to set it on fire.
Put out the fire. It's set on fire. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, but you know, don't try that at home. No one do that. I'm pretty sure that's a bad idea.
Well, yeah, we can't advocate If so, G-Dub keeps doing these made to orders. Yeah, right now they've got the Chaos Dwarfs. That these guys are they are vintage. Everything that I grew up looking at with G-Dub. I just can't believe I used to look at these models and be like, wow, that's so cool. I look at them now, and you know what I think, Paul?
Yeah?
They're still freaking cool. I don't care what you say. They're freaking cool, guys.
Is this the Blood Bowl team, or is it the...
Yeah, the Blood Bowl team.
Yeah, okay, yeah. They were a pretty sick army when for Fantasy Battle when they came out. Because, you know, it had that book, and then they had the bull centaurs.
Yeah, well, so one of my favorite models is he's got the most regrettable name of any G-Dub model, but his name is Charter. And he's his name's Charter, the Executioner, but his model is fantastic. And the Forge World paint job of him as well on the site is stunning, absolutely stunning. Yeah. If anyone wants to go have a look at that, he's one of the models of any I just want to buy so I can paint him. I just think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't mind the made to order stuff. I mean, I think there are some people that either, you know, they want to flesh out their collection. I thought the Assassins, when they put them up, was interesting because, you know, they're current models for Assassins, and some of those Assassins they're a lot easier to hide.
Well, you're absolutely right. They are literally like 40% smaller than the current ones. Yeah. Especially like the Eversaw, who's like, he's not that much taller, but he's leaping off the side of a thing, so he's just as wide as he is tall.
Now you got the character rule so look, I'm not suggesting you model her for advantage. I'm like, that's a real good opportunity for some people who may want to do that.
To take advantage of some made to order goodness and just have a model that is also beautiful and small.
But if you never got, like, I didn't like, I'm a Catachan player, you know, as you know, but I didn't like the Sly Marbo miniature. I just didn't. I mean, I've got him since then, but at the time, I'm like, I love all these other Rambos, but for some reason, the actual Rambo, I don't like.
What, the new one?
No, the old one. The old one.
Oh, yeah.
The original. Yeah, somebody's face, you know. But whatever. But I used the Eversaw Assassin for his model instead. The one with that's holding the head up, you know, the beheaded guy or whatever. I used that model as my Sly Marbo.
Nice.
Oh, so what I'm saying would be, you know, an opportunity if I wanted to get another one or whatever. Yeah. It was nice of them to do that.
At what age did you start getting into 40k?
15.
Yeah. What was the first model you looked at age 15 and went, wow? And just blew your mind.
I tell you, I've told a little bit of this before, but I don't mind, you know, like recapping it. It was Eldar. Like everyone in my group was playing either Space Marines or Imperial Guard, or I think Grey Knights had just come out at the time, or Chaos. Like everyone was a big Chaos fan. Some people were Tyranids fans. Nobody was Eldar fans. And I'm like, you know what? I like elves. I'm gonna get these space elves.
Nice. Which model drew you to him the most? Because in all likelihood, that model is still in production.
Well, there weren't really many models. There was a Warlock, maybe a Farseer, and then Guardians, and a Warwalker. Like there was some stuff like that, you know, but they were metal Warwalkers. I have to believe that it was probably, there was an Exarch. There was a Striking Scorpion Exarch that looked really cool. I'm starting to question how old you are, Paul, because I thought you were around the same age as me. I'm 32.
Oh,
so
when I was
way past
that. So yeah, I thought we were in the same bandwidth there, because I remember when I first joined, all the Phoenix Lords had been released, I think recently, like within about a year or two from when I first got into 40k when I was 13, 14. And like the Fugan and Aziman and all those models are still exactly the same models that are there now. It's actually literally been 18 years with exactly the same models. for all the Phoenix Lords.
Yep. Except James are now.
Except James, yeah, exactly right. Except James are. Mind you, Fugan still looks sick. He still looks tough.
They all do. I think they all look sick.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, their stances are very. You can tell they were flat molded metal because.
But think about what they did, though. I don't want to. We spent some time talking about this in the past. So I don't want to bore anybody. That's. I mean, I know this is new to you, right?
Yeah.
But I don't. But like how far they pushed Eldrad. Like Eldrad he's got his arms out and he's basically a single press figure. But so good.
Yeah, he's actually really, really good, and he's so iconic. He's such an icon of the lore as well.
Yeah. So I guess Space Elves, and then I was hooked since, and then after wrecking people for about a year with Harlequins, I was like, you know what? Let me see what's up, and I got into Blood Angels, and never looked back.
Nice. Where was that? That question was going somewhere. Back when I said made to order, if there was a made to order model that they could bring back just for Paul Murphy, what would it be?
Oh, okay. So having the almost like library like collection of things, I haven't really gotten rid of the stuff that I really liked over the years.
That's disappointing. That's a disappointing answer, Paul.
I'm leading to an answer. I'm leading to something. But like, so for instance, if I didn't, I would have wanted the original Tycho.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I've got that model still. So that would have been a great one. There are some Chaos Sorcerers that I think are really, really cool. Like there's some of them that they look like they're fantasy battle stuff, but they're only like a couple of bits away from being a 40k model.
Yeah, that is very true. There was so many correlations between 40k and fantasy back then because honestly, I'm not sure the designers had enough money in their pockets to deviate much from like a set. This is Chaos. This is what Chaos looks like. It's either got a gun or he's got a staff and he's pointing, and here's your three options to stick on this model. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
There were several models, and I'm drawing a blank on the names of them, but there were several models that you could only get mail order in a very specific window from Games Workshop directly. Like you had to mail it from Nottingham, which, 20 something years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, that seemed almost impossible. You couldn't click on a website and get get it sent to you or whatever.
Yeah.
Fill out a form, lick a stamp and hope it made it,
I've got this weird one for the made to order. See, I have this small little shoebox that I've kept since I was 13 that I have like in the bottom of my cupboard, and it has all my old models. Like it's got a couple of old metal Plague Marines, got a couple of bits and pieces. And there's one really special bit in there, and it's infuriating me. It just infuriates the absolute everything out of me because I have Doom Rider's bike, but I don't have the rider. And it blows my mind. I'm like, where did he go? I've literally barely opened this box.
And you can't get rid of the bike because if you find the rider,
Exactly. I don't have the rider and not the bike. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just doomed, aren't I? I'm doomed to be unhappy.
Yeah. That's going to plague you.
I'll never find happiness.
You're going to be like Christopher Walken. You're like, I've carried this uncomfortable hunk of metal. This is your legacy. You're going to pass.
This is your legacy. Yeah. I'll pass it down to my child. Here, congratulations. You have Doom Rider's bike and no Doom Rider. Here you go. Live with mediocrity, my son.
The Gene Stealer Patriarch on the throne is probably what I would want to stand
or the limousine from the Gene Stealer cult, the original limo.
I'm not sure that limo was ever a real model. I think someone just kind of cobbled that together.
Really? Is that an urban legend?
I don't think it was a real model. No, there was definitely a picture of one of those in the journals or the White Dwarf or whatever. Like it existed, but I don't believe it was ever a produced model.
Oh, there you go. Wow, I've lived my entire life thinking that was a real model they made.
I'm positive somebody's going to find out that I'm wrong, but I don't think it was. I think it was one of those.
I've just Googled it, and I'm not getting any pictures that look like a legitimate model. They all look like they're Tonka trucks or Hot Wheels cars people have stuck bits on.
There was definitely a picture of a painted Gene Stealer model next to a limousine in a publication thing directly from GW.
And man, if you were going to like usurp an entire hive or city, you would ride around in a limo, wouldn't you? Just be like, man, I've made it. It's cool. I get the limo.
We never questioned the fact that there was a limo in the universe. Like it was so weird. It's like it just seemed like, okay, great, all right.
Well, to be honest, I can't foresee a day where a limo is going to go out of fashion. Like where rich, powerful people are not going to be like, do you know what I need right now? damn limousine.
Yeah, you're probably right. I would like to get the original Lehman Russ model, and I would like to have the original. It became Marnius Calgar, but I believe it was Gilliman's original model.
Oh yeah.
Just to have because there were things that were really cool at the time that I didn't get. Couldn't have gotten. Didn't have the means, or the ability to get them at the time.
I've got a massive guard army. It's like 10,500 points of painted, and I've got another couple of thousand points unpainted. I saw the Gorgon Armored Assault Transport was back in production by GW for all of about 24 hours. I think it's sold out, temporarily out of stock again. But man, that thing was gone for a good couple of years.
Oh, wow.
And it is a big old brick of a thing. It's so it's the Macarius chassis, the Macarius Vulcan a lot of people use, but it's a transport. It carries 50 dudes. That's
the one that you can get the dudes for, right? Like you can get the models that stand side by side.
I think so. I'm not quite sure I know what you mean, but all I know is that the first time I saw this thing, I was like, I need to have one of those. And I've never been able to get one. And now I was considering buying one for myself for Christmas. But it doesn't look like I'll be able to now. But man, I was just looking at the price and I'm like, nah, I wasn't going to buy it anyway.
But it was right there with you. See, if it was right where you could click on it and get it, maybe you would.
Maybe I would.
I'm such an enabler.
You are totally. You're bad for my wallet. You're good for my hobby though. Good for everyone's hobby, I hope, Paul.
Thank you.
But it's 403 Australian dollars. 403. That hurts. I could almost buy 3 knights. I could almost buy an entire 2,000 point knight army for the same price as this Gorgon. Ugh, that sucks.
Well, next time,
sucks.
Whatever.
Next time it's in stock. I'm still going to click. I'm still going to click the email me when it's back in stock, and I'll decide then.
Just to torture yourself.
Exactly right.
I understand. I completely understand.
Exactly right. You do completely understand. I like that.
It's one of those to where maybe just it's going to be the exact right moment. You're going to wake up and see that email. Like, you know what? Today's the day.
Yeah, well, if it happens on a Thursday, if anybody from G-Dubs, get them back in stock on a Thursday when it's payday for me, and I probably won't have enough sense to not buy it. I'll be like, I just got paid. I can afford that. Bang.
That's fine. Whenever anyone asks me, when they should put their tournament tickets on sale, I always say the 15th or the 30th,
Exactly right, man. You're not wrong. But everyone's got the dollars.
Yeah. Oh, well, a little. We've probably gone off with too much of a tangent, but that is...
There's no such thing. Yeah. We're still talking about 40k.
Well, no, and I've been playing too, man. I'm telling you this, there's nothing like, to me anyway, I'm about to finish Buried Dagger, the novel.
Nice.
Which is the end of the Horus Heresy series. And it started off a little bit slow to me, but it has ramped up significantly, and I've really enjoyed the book. And I know there's been several, the Siege of Terror, a couple of books that are out in the collector's format, and I'm going to read them as soon as I possibly can, but I'm going to read the Blood Angel novel that came out first, which is set in the 40k. So now I've got, I'm reading all this stuff, so my juices have been flowing, got a new Blood Angel set of rules, so my creativity's been flowing, got LVO coming up, got Adepticon after that, there's stuff happening with the Armageddon series. I'm waiting on one score sheet, and the guy knows who he is that needs to send it to me. I'll get it, and then we'll get the winners out for this first season 1. Season 2 is going to be even bigger. Season 2 is going to be at least 20% bigger than season 1.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, at least. Maybe more. So I want to get the series season 1 wrapped up before I start talking about season 2, but it's going to be great, and thanks for everyone that participated. We've had tons of players, unique players, participate in multiple rounds of the Armageddon series in these various tournaments, and it's just cool. It's a lot to do with tournament culture here in the South. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. Please make it to some of these tournaments we're going to be talking about.
Fantastic. That is so good to hear. I love hearing about communities growing and coming together and new and amazing things taking off. We've got a few initiatives in Australia going at the moment, like one of the organizations I'm affiliated with, Down Under Pairings, which is a pairing software. We're trying to grow. We want some super majors in Australia. We want some things of the ilk of Adepticon and LVOs and Novas and these almost household name tournaments, these big super majors and polarizing, crazy, amazing cons and events. We want to try and grow some of those here. So we've started this initiative. We've started a little bit of an Australian circuit. It's not to compete with anybody or do anything apart from just grow Australian and grow Australian 40k and get people traveling, because Australia is so prohibitively big for the scenes and pockets of the game to kind of connect with each other. We're trying to give some incentives for people to go to these events. And so the rankings for Australia in the down on the pairing system, you have to go to 2 or more of the circuit events, and there's one in each state. So it's just meaning like you have to travel to at least one other big event in another state in the year to get your rankings verified. And the first prize, we've just had both the LVO and Nova have come on board as options for this, because whoever wins it for the year pretty much just gets their choice of international event they want to go to. Whatever international event they go to, that's where we send them to. So they say, oh yeah, I want to go to the London GT. We're going to send them to London GT. They say, oh, I want to go to Nova. We're going to send them Nova. They want to go to LVO. I want to go to LVO. Anywhere else, like, I don't know if any of your big European tournaments, there's a couple of big ones in Sweden and in Scandinavia. There's some pretty big scenes, as well as Germany. They want to go to those. We'd send them to those. So yeah, we're really trying to, I don't know, just promote growth. And it sounds like that's exactly what's going on with you as well. And I think that's an incredible thing for us to be doing as a community.
I mean, going out and hanging out and doing these things, it's a natural extension of competitive play.
It is. It's awesome. Are you like me? I don't know if the listeners can connect with this. So it's a bit weird for a content creator to be talking about other content creators. But like, do you have a daily, like, a weekly podcast routine you go through, or
I moisturize.
You moisturize. No. You get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and I go for a jog every second.
I do a stretch before we get going. Do you mean like do I prepare for this show in any way?
No. I meant what other 40k content do you consume? Like, do you have a weekly routine of your podcasts you watch and your battle reports or YouTube channels?
My routine is a little bit sporadic, but what I do is I listen to stuff while I'm working. Like, so, you know, while I'm answering emails and stuff like that, I have basically a constant stream. I don't read much content. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't read a ton of articles on this stuff, but I love the audio. The way if you got good audio, I'll probably listen to you.
I'm the same. I actually do most of mine at work as well. So my work involves me traveling quite a bit to a few different prisons and correction services and stuff. And usually it's a lot of hours on the road. And then when the actual contact hours are over, it's usually a lot of hours in front of a computer typing reports. So I'm usually always listening to something. Well, all the frontline gaming ones, I listen to pretty much all of those. So Stats Center, I know you're quite good friends with Val. I'm good friends with Val, and both Val and Peter. I'm pretty good friends with Pablo as well. So Chapter Tactics is always on my list. I really enjoy, so I'm qualified in community services and community development, and any like community focused or community driven podcast, I will just jump on like a house on fire and listen to it religiously.
I really appreciate that. I mean, that is one of those things to where, you know, there's lots of ways, you know, over the years, what I find it's a little bit easier to kind of break things down than it is to build things up.
Exactly. Well, it's just so much easier to be negative and stay negative. Being like fighting to be positive in your life and in the way you interact with it and interact with people is actually a lot harder than just if you're negative and staying negative. And unfortunately, that's a thing that we have to struggle with now, especially in life at the moment. It seems like a lot of the internet is very polarized, and people would just prefer to be negative. But I suppose this is a whole different topic for 40K.
It is, and I actually get a little criticism because I'm not seen as critical enough about some of this stuff. But really, what I try to do is I try to focus on the things that I do like about it. Because look, I mean, really, I spend a heck of a lot of time thinking about Warhammer. You know,
me too.
Like a really like
on top of that, you spend a heck of a lot of money on Warhammer as well, probably, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah, a fair amount. I mean, yes. I mean, just by the process of being the hobby that it is, yes. Where I'm going is that I spend a lot of my time is consumed with this, and I just don't feel like I need to kind of wallow in any kind of negative stuff, while I'm doing that. Like, this really is it's an escape. It's something that's, it's a hobby. It's something I want to do, and I want to feel good about some of the things that I do. And look, maybe sometimes that I kind of force it just a bit, like I might be, but I also have, like, I have favorite units. Like, I have some things that I really like. I really like Striking Scorpions. Like,
I absolutely adore Striking Scorpions. The fluff, the models, the color scheme, everything. I think they're fantastic.
If I can find a way that gets them into, if I find something that I really like and I want to play with it, think about it. I mean, this is something this has been like a constant theme since the very beginning of the show, is that we spend so many hours putting things together, painting, fantasizing about it, that the actual play is almost in the minority of the time. And so if I can find anything, that really captures my interest for that 75% of the time that I'm in the hobby, thinking about it, working with my hands, doing something about it, that's going to get talked about. And that's going to be something that I think a lot of people feel that way, even if they haven't put the kind of fine point on it yet.
Absolutely right. I can't agree more. I think as hobbyists, and I think I'm generalizing and speaking for a lot of people here, but we put so much time and love and energy into this. I just can't be bothered being negative about it with how much I just prefer not to be. I mean, I am negative. I do complain. I complain when Space Marines came out. I complained quite a bit, but then I'd had my fill and I stopped. And I still do, I complain, but I do make a conscious decision that I would rather be feel positively and act positively about my hobby and my community than be negative. And it actually has to be a decision for me, because at times I can get stuck in a bit of a rut where it's all doom and gloom and the game's in a bad place, I don't feel like playing anymore, blah blah blah.
If the faction that you really like is not in a good place, I can sympathize, man.
Absolutely, but that's the thing. There are so many other ways to engage with this hobby that don't involve just this unit's bad, this unit's good. That's such a binary and I think possibly immature way to look at something that's so deep, so vast, has so many incredible and amazing facets to it, and people just boil it down to whether this unit's good or this book's bad or this stratagem's not worth it and blah blah blah. So people talk about performers being triple threats. He can sing, he can dance, he can act, those kind of things. I like to think that hobbyists.
Hugh Jackman.
That's right, he's my boy.
Don't get me started on Hugh Jackman.
I like to think that people, hobbyists, should aspire to be like that. People should aspire to be triple threat. You should aspire to enjoy the narrative as much as you can, whether that's for you or not. That's okay, but just give it a crack. Aspire to enjoy creating, painting, building models, because that's a huge facet of enjoying the game as well. And then aspire to enjoy playing it. And if you try and become a well-rounded hobbyist, you'll never be unhappy playing it, because if any one of those is unsatisfying at the time, you'll always have another one or two to pick up. And so let's say the game's not in a great place. Well, if you still enjoy painting and building, you've still got an amazing hobby to dedicate yourself to while you listen to podcasts like Forge Narrative. But
look, we're kind of treading on independent characters ground here.
Are we?
I don't want to harsh their gig.
But no, that's what I mean. And naturally, painting and building and all that stuff isn't for everybody. But at the same time, I've met people who really don't like painting. They love building, and while they build, they love to listen to audiobooks, and they consume the narrative of the universe. I know I've got mates who really love playing the game, but they can't stand the lore. But they love painting. It doesn't mean you need to be well versed or in love with all facets of it. The point is that it's big enough that you'll find something to love all the time.
Yeah, I do agree. I was just kidding about the independent characters. Although this is what they do. They celebrate the other aspects of the hobby a little bit more than the competitive side. And what I try to do, at least on this show, is talk about how to actually get your models on the table and the best way to use them. So another aspect of what you're talking about is I get people that write in all the time and they want to know what's the best way to make the unit that they like work.
I love that.
And sometimes you got to say, okay, take that unit, and then that is 300 points you just sunk into a hole, and that's unfortunate. But we're going to make that other 1,700 points work like a clock,
Yeah, well-oiled machine. I love people telling me about that stuff, because that shows that they've got this amazing depth of passion for this either the way this model looks, or it feels, or it plays, or the story behind it. There's something about this that freaking speaks to them, and I connect with that, because that's how I feel about this hobby as well. As it, like you said about striking scorpions. As soon as you said, I'm like, I freaking love striking scorpions. The models are amazing. The fluff's amazing. They're fantastic.
They've got cool history. Yeah,
exactly.
Their Phoenix Lord is maybe not the original Phoenix Lord. It's
yeah. And he's trying to hunt down the one that he took his place of, because he became an incubi.
He's Drazak.
He's Drazak. Yeah, I know. But they've never outright said it, is it?
No,
have they?
No, it's still one of those little mystery things.
But they've alluded to it. And how good's that? This mystery fluff piece, this mystery to the narrative, and is he, isn't he? All these amazing little Easter eggs and chestnuts throughout this deep lore. I think there's just so many incredible ways to engage with what this hobby is.
People, they write in, and some of them is about army list advice, and I ask them, it's okay, what are we working with here? Are we trying to make decisions with the models you have? Are we trying to include a certain unit? Are you willing to get additional models? What are we actually working for here? Are we trying to make the best
Yeah.
or the best with what we've got? And those are that's two very important things. And neither one of them's right or wrong. It's just, what are we working with here?
What's your preference? What do you love? And I think that is, well, for the vast, that's the vast majority of people who play this game. They're the people who, they play it because there's a specific part that they connect with and they love. And they might not want to compromise on that. Like, I can say for a fact there's, Harlequins, T-Suns and Grey Knight players in the past probably 20 years are some of the most dedicated, diehard, fanatical, and amazing members of the community. I've said it on this podcast before. Like, you meet Orc players, yeah, and you're like, when you've met an Orc player, you're like, bet that guy plays Orcs. You haven't seen what his army is, but I'm like, that guy's an Orc player. And like 85% of the time, you're freaking right. And it's because he's like immersed himself in the hobby so much. He doesn't act like an Orc, but he's got this enthusiasm or this something. There's something about people when they connect with their army, connect with their faction, or the bit about the hobby that they invest all their time and energy in. And it's just love. It's just freaking love. It's just love. And it's fantastic. Love it.
And with this tournament circuit, the Armageddon series, like there are, the rules are just, and this is only for consistency of scoring, is that you use ITC scoring and ITC missions.
Yep.
So we can get consistent scores from the output. But then other than that, run your tournament like you want. Like that's the only rule, just so we can only have consistent scoring and an outcome that people can relate to.
Yep, just so you can have a score system at the end that's relative to all events.
And maybe we get one guy that travels a state over it where he wasn't planning on doing that before. You meet folks, like some real solid friendships that I've got in my adult life and have been for years, have been people that I've encountered, 3 or 4 times a year at some of these things. And it's really worthwhile to get out there and do it if it's your thing. Heck, you might not even care about the outcome of the tournament, but some of these are destination things where there's other stuff to do outside of the tournament.
I think you've mentioned Adepticon as being one of your diehard can't miss events.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Tell us what it is about that. Tell us about everything except the games.
Well, Adepticon is one of those to where, it's grown. There are 5,000 people there.
That's ridiculous.
So just a ton of folks. But it's from the time you leave the hall to the time you get to the elevator, it is basically wall-to-wall gaming with different things. And they've got a pretty interesting dealers area, so you get to see a lot of people, almost like a trade show for gaming as far as the dealers hall goes. So it's really cool. And then just the people and the atmosphere. Like, they've created a culture there that is conducive to hanging out, being relaxed, social, completely forgetting about work for 4 days. That's, you just can't get that everywhere, even like on a real, like what would be a quote unquote real vacation. Like, it's that's one of the reasons it's a can't miss thing.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to grow in Australia. We want some like destination events. At the moment, we have CanCon, which is like the signifies the end of our ITC season. That's like our ITC championships. It's on the same week. It's on the same weekend as LVO this year. So unfortunately, I'm having to miss it because I'm going to the LVO. And it's going to be incredible. But we're trying to grow more destination events. Like, of the ilk of, we're trying to copy America because you can have all these big, amazing, incredible destination events. Like, I want to go to Nova one day. I want to go to Adepticon one day. And probably like the BAO in SoCal and Iron Halo and Renegade, and they're all going to grow into these big, amazing things over time. And I want to go to all of them because they sound incredible. Even past the games, just being like at the epicenter of the community is
culture
crafting.
Yeah, culture crafting the event is huge. And the ones that focus more on that community aspect of it are the better ones. And look, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a grand tournament, a major that's just a grindy tournament, like whatever. That's cool. I'm going to those too, man. Like, I'm going, and people, that's what we're, part of what we're promoting with a tournament series where there's, where you're rewarded for your wins. Like, I'm not even beating around the bush. That's what that's about,
Yep.
But if you can only make it to 1 or 2 a year and you're not necessarily wanting to be crowned the best gamer of all time for that weekend, there's some other things out there that are really worth going to.
I think there's a huge global push to try and up the competitive level of events and try and get competitive 40k off the ground as a legitimate game. And I am all for that. But at the same time, variety is the freaking spice of life and is the spice of my hobby. I won't speak for anybody else's, but I don't want to lose all the thematic events. I want to keep the narrative events. I want to keep them all. I want to be able to, go to 5 or 6 narrative events in a year and go to 5 or 6 super ultra competitive tournaments. I like the variety. I like the difference.
Yeah.
I actually don't even mind. I actually quite like 1 or 2 events a year having list restrictions, like old school panel comp or whatever. I don't mind. Like, as long as it's not everyone. I just don't want all my tournaments to be the same.
One of the neat things is that there's, like, for me, I'm probably not going to travel to certain types of events, and there are people that are the exact same way on the opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah,
but I think there's room enough in the hobby for all of us.
Exactly right, man.
By a large margin.
I couldn't agree more. That's what I love about it. The more it grows, the more different niches we'll have that will develop, and people will find like their perfect spot.
Well, let's break up this love fest. Take a quick break.
It has been a 20-minute love-in for the community.
Yeah,
like that could be the title of the show. Adam and Paul's 20-minute community love-in.
we got a long hug. That's
We did.
The title's a long hug.
We should film that when it happens at LVO. Our long hug.
It will. I'll stream it out to the group.
To the people. Right.
Okay, so let's take a break, and I do want to come back and talk about Harlequins.
See you then.
See you in a minute.
FTN is brought to you by Discount Games Inc. Please visit them at www.discountgamesinc.com. And don't forget to ask Jay about ways to save even more on your hobby projects.
We are back. It's me and Adam.
It is me and Paul.
We're in holiday season. Yeah, we'll be, rest of you folks be back soon. We're going to continue to record. It's not even the last show of the year.
I know, it's outrageous. Everyone's packing it in. Not unfortunate narrative. Paul does not sleep. Paul does not rest.
We're getting close. We got another show in us to close out the decade.
How crazy is that? There was someone put up a meme and says, the year 2000 was is about to be 20 years ago, which is silly because the 1980s were 20 years ago.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's man. When I was a kid and people said like time speeds up, they were absolutely right. It just rolls around so fast these days.
Well, I hope everyone is having a safe and happy holiday season. I know this is a time of year where sometimes people just want to chat, and if you want to chat about 40k or anything really, hit us up. Always happy to do it.
So, Harlequins.
Yes. So, okay, Harlequins benefited greatly for a couple of reasons with the chapter approved. So the actual Harlequin troop itself, like the troop unit, has gone down by what? 20%? I mean...
Yeah, starting at 11 points now. What were they in the Codex?
In the Codex...
I think they were 13, or were they even more?
A Harlequin troop was 13 points originally in the Codex.
Yep. And so what are their two... Their basic weapons are Harlequin's Blade, and then they got the Caress, Embrace, and Kiss. And they're all 7, 6, and 7 points for those, and the Blade's 0 points, and the Power Sword's 4. I guess the biggest, most relevant change for Harlequins is the fact that their buy-in for a battalion has gone down considerably, hasn't it?
That's it. So now where the battalion to get the command points. See, Harlequins have a lot of really juicy stratagems. Man, they got some really sweet things you can do. You just couldn't do very many of them because if you were playing full Harlequins and you started the game with your 8 command points or something. By the time you put a couple things in Webway, by the time you did your 1 or 2 of your like shroud, or mask specific things, you were out. You were out of gas.
Yeah, and they're very much the same as Eldar. They need their layers of buffs. They need their psychic powers and their stratagems kind of working in concert with each other to get the most out of them. And one of those just falls on its face turn 2 because you've bottomed out of CP. Because like the game is like we all know, the game is very killy. And they have a lot of very good defensive powers. They have Fire and Fade. They have 2 ways to get a 3+ invulnerable save. One from what was the first one? There is, where is it? Just look, lightning fast reactions, of course, they're the same as all of them. -1 to hit. They have Prismatic Blur, which is that's advanced, gets a 3+ invulnerable save. And then there's one where they take a wound after they've taken their first wound. They get a +1 to their save. I can't remember if that one's is a mask specific, but I've had people use that on me before, so I'm sure it exists. I just don't know what it's called.
That's fair. I'm glad you brought up Prismatic Blur because this is one of those. It's only a 1 CP stratagem, and this is use this stratagem after a Harlequin unit from your army has advanced. That unit has a 3+ invulnerable save until the start of your next turn. Now it doesn't say in the movement phase or in a specific thing or whatever. It's after that thing has advanced. And so with the psychic power, and let me get the name of that psychic power.
I did find, while you're looking for that, I did find that stratagem I was talking about. It's called Ish's Weeping. And that's at the end of any phase, select a Harlequins unit that has suffered any casualties. So that's casualties, not wounds. So for things like Skyweavers with 3 wounds, you actually need one of them to die before you can proc this. So invulnerable save is increased by 1 to a maximum of 3+. So after you've been shot in any phase, like let's say you just get shot by one unit and they're about to unload a bunch of other stuff, they're Tau, yeah? They need to put a wound on you and then they get the +1 to wound, and then you go, all of a sudden you're going to be going to 3+ invulns and all that stuff. Did you find that psychic power?
This is Twilight Pathways. So this is has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a friendly Harlequins unit within 3 inches of the psyker invisible to it. That unit can immediately move as if it were the movement phase. It says you can't use Twilight Pathways on more than one unit in each psychic phase, which can't, in match play, you can't cast it twice anyway. But this would allow you to then activate the Prismatic Blur again on a second unit in your psychic phase, giving 2 big fat units of bikes that you freed up the points to get because your troops cost less to get a 3+ invulnerable save.
Nice. And there's a Warrior Acrobats 1 CP Harlequin infantry unit automatically advances 6 instead of rolling the dice. So the other way is to just use that as a traditional like warp time. So you got a unit of 10 or 12, a big beefy unit of Harlequin models, and they move 8 inches base, or is it 7 inches base? And so with the auto 6 advance, they're moving,
it's 8-inch base. 8-inch base.
Yeah, they're moving 14 inches. You move them again. They would keep. Oh, sorry, they wouldn't keep the auto. Oh, sorry. I'll have to check the wording. Are you able to go and check the wording of Warrior Acrobats? Is it does it say in the movement phase they get to auto advance 6, or just say in this turn they get to auto advance 6? So I'm trying to work out if they'd keep that auto 6 advance when they moved again with Twilight Pathways.
Warrior Acrobats use this stratagem in the movement phase when a Harlequin's infantry unit from your army advances. Add 6 to that unit's move characteristic for that movement phase instead of rolling a dice.
So you get to move 14 and then move 8 plus d6. So you wouldn't get the auto 6 again because you're not moving in the movement phase, you're moving in the psychic phase. But still, like you're going a minimum of 20 inches there. Minimum of 22. So minimum of 22 plus d6. So on an average, you're moving about 25 between you. Yeah. And then you got your 2d6 charge. And there's, so one of the things that I think holds back Harlequins, if anything, is they don't have a 3d6 charge ability or a +2 or a +3 to charge. But when you've got something as powerful as being able to always charge after advancing, and you've got abilities that you double move, there's very good ways to start on the board and get into combat very quickly.
So for people that might not be familiar, the Rising Crescendo models in this unit can advance, and that's a special rule that's across most of the Harlequins, including the Skyweaver bikes, which we'll talk about here more in a second. Models in this unit can advance and charge in the same turn. In addition, they can fall back and still shoot and or charge in the same turn.
It's nice.
Yeah,
and it's one of the best army-wide special rules in the game. Like, if you compare that to what Chaos Space Marines get for being Chaos Space Marines, they get what Death to the False Emperor. That's pretty much it.
The Skyweavers also have add 6 to this move characteristic when it advances all the time.
Yeah, because they're bikes, like the same as Space Marine bikes, and a lot of other bikes do. They get the auto advance 6.
22 inches that they move.
Yeah, man, they're pretty speedy. And did they drop in points? In the book, they are starting at 25 points. So not in the book. In chapter approved, they're starting at 25 points, and then I think they come with the haywire cannon is sorry.
No, so the base Skyweaver in the Codex was 30 points.
So it's a 5-point difference somewhere there, and then most people of course will go for the haywire cannon, which is 15. So that brings them up to 40. And then melee wise they can have the Zephyrglaive or the Star Bowlers, I think, or was the Star Bowlers actually. The Star Bowlers are actually a ranged weapon. I didn't even know that. I always assumed they were a melee weapon.
Yeah, no, you throw them or whatever as you're going by, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the Zephyrglaives, which is 6 points. So 46 points. So I was actually looking at someone's list earlier today, and he's got, on his Skyweavers, he's got listed a Haywire Cannon and a Star Bowlers. So maybe the Star Bowlers has a melee profile as well. Nah, the Star Bowlers
the Star Bowler is a grenade weapon.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
D3.
Nice. As Solitaires, my God, I love the solitaires, and I'm also terrified.
Let's get there in a second. So with the troops, like you just said, moving those troops with as far as they can, and the fact they have good weapons, like they have a lot of attacks for like a regular troop guy, just a regular old base infantry guy that's now the same points as a space marine, like a tactical marine.
Yeah,
has 4 base attacks. It's only toughness 3. So, stay with me there still. Only toughness 3.
Yep.
But they do have a 4+ invulnerable save, that can be increased to a 3 with the prismatic blur. Or you can jump the bikes up. Like getting the bikes, like I think the bikes are the most killy thing that you've got right now. But then that's where the mask comes in, and also the increase in command points come in. So the mask, the silent shroud.
Yep.
There is a 2 CP stratagem that allows the unit, use a stratagem at the start of your charge phase. Select the silent shroud unit from your army. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch against that unit this phase.
Nice.
So it's 2 CP. Now remember, we've already spent, 8 CP going into the game and then getting our stuff into position in the previous environment. Now we've got 3 or 4 free bonus CP from our double battalion that we can actually do this now.
That was so enthusiastic. I love it.
Well, it was a numerical impossibility. And so things like Tau would just, okay, great. I know you got your clowns over here and you're like 3 inches away, but awesome. I just killed you with pea shooters.
Yep.
Being able to actually then invest that 2 CP into getting in your, it's not an auto win, but you're going to get your trick off.
It's true. Very true. So you said that bikes are one of the most killy things. I actually, for point now, I think the troop has just overtaken the bikes for killiness. I had an example on I told you about where a unit of 10, I think it was either 10 or 12. You can have a unit of 12 Harlequin troops. I believe a unit of 12 Harlequin troops went through 20 meganobs in one fight phase. And me and my friends were sitting there going, we didn't know they could do that. Why did anybody tell us they could do that?
What weapons were they equipped with? Because that's that's another one of those things, because, once you put these models together and stuff, you want to nail it the right way. I mean, did they have caresses, the embraces, or the kisses? Like what were they doing?
Well, firstly, we'll go over that in a sec, but I just wanted to tell you that they were frozen stars, which is the mask form that gives them +1 attack on the turn that they charge. So that when you slingshot these guys, those 22 inches, then charge them, they come in with 5 attacks each. 5 attacks. Yeah, and then they of course have their double fight stratagem, and then on top of that, they have the silent shroud. Sorry, the frozen stars stratagem, which is 2 CP. Select a frozen star unit at the beginning of the fight phase. Add 1 to that unit's wound rolls for anything that targets infantry, beast, or bikers. All of a sudden, plus they're coming in with 4, 5 attacks each, +1 to wound, and they would have had I'm not actually sure what weapons they had, but they had weapons that are good at killing meganobs, whatever they were. The
caress is +2 strength, -2 armor save. The embrace is +1 strength, -3 armor save. Both 1 wound apiece. And then the kiss is D3 wounds.
Yes, D3 damage. So I'd assume like you couldn't make it. So that'd be a very interesting way to construct your Harlequin troops. Do you dedicate them to just being good at killing one thing, like having the -3? That's very good against other Eldar, but only being 1 damage. Yeah, most Eldar things are only 1 damage. You go straight through Dark Reapers, you go straight through Guardians, you go straight through everything bar, say, another biker unit. Whereas the Kiss, +1 strength, -1 AP, D3 damage, that's amazing for things like demons and things like Dark Eldar, like Talos, who are always going to get an invuln anyway, and Grotesques. And all those big demons, like Demon Princes and all sorts. Who cares? Who cares if you're not -3?
And you can have fusion pistols on everybody too. So, I mean, you
can as well.
You can make them a little bit extra punch, in the shooting phase.
How many points was the fusion pistol in the book? Because I'm guessing it wasn't 7 points. 7 points for a fusion pistol actually seems pretty reasonable.
No, that sounds right. Let me check though. Fusion pistol was 9 points in the Codex. I don't know if I think that may have changed in the previous chapter approved, but it was 9 points in the Codex.
7 points now. That does seem pretty reasonable for a fusion pistol. There's also a stratagem that you get to shoot your pistols at a unit that falls back from a Harlequin unit. So you can play some little mind games with people. People will be expecting you to try and wrap them and not get shot by your Harlequin stuff. enough. But, you leave them a little gap where they get to fall back and they think, oh, yeah, he didn't wrap me properly. And then you're like, ha, bang, bang, kills you anyway. And that can be a good way. Let's say that you have the top of the turn and you're playing ITC and you want to get kill more by the end of the turn. If you just wrap that unit and then they got to fall back and or run away or gate out or all different ways that they can get out of a wrap or whatever, and you get to shoot them before they go and kill them. All of a sudden, maybe you got your second butcher's build, maybe you got another headhunter, maybe you're going to get kill more that turn. All these other different things, ways they can come into play.
Is that just against an infantry unit, or is it against anything? Like somebody with fly, could they?
I think it's against anything. Well, let's have a quick gaze. But it's the first one listed here. Kegarak's Jest. When enemy falls back from your unit, if you aren't locked in combat with another unit, you can shoot them after he has finished his fallback move. So the only issue there would be because of the short
pistols, short range.
Short range. I was about to say, all of a sudden there's some cracks in this little Adams plan here.
But it might work. I mean,
it might just work. You never know.
I mean, it's better. Look, knowing, but part of the battle with some of these stratagems is just knowing you have them.
Exactly right. Well, these Harlequins have an actual deep toolbox of stratagems and warlord traits and gimmicks and some amazing things they can do. But it's just getting them to operate properly, like throughout a 6-turn game. That seems to be the big issue. And one of those hurdles has just been decreased massively by the buy-in for the battalions falling down considerably by the looks of things.
Yeah, you mentioned lightning fast reactions too. That is a money maker stratagem from neg 1 to hit, right? It really adds up. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
You're already neg 1 to hit on the bikes. The bikes come with an innate -1. So them going from -1 to 2 versus guardsmen, versus Tau, versus a lot of the armies that hit on a 4+. Getting to -2 is actually the utter sweet spot, and I think it's fantastic.
It's two CPs, so this is something else that's unlocked to you is now open for you to actually play with.
Well, so this is the thing. It seems very similar, quite similar to Grey Knights. There's this really good set of stratagems. I'm not saying Grey Knights have good stratagems, but there are some decent stratagems in Grey Knights and some really good stratagems here. But if they were 1 point less, they would genuinely be stratagems you build your entire list and archetype around. But because they're 2 or sometimes 3, you just can't invest. You can't bank on being able to pull that stratagem off for 3 or 4 key turns of the game. And so it just seems like it's always a part of the game where it falls down. Like the CP and the stratagem mechanic is something that a lot of armies live and die by. Funnily enough, Space Marines don't seem to need command points. I mean, they have all these incredible ones. But if you took command points, if you took all the stratagems out of the Space Marine book, that would still be a very good book. So the same can somewhat be said for Dark Eldar and in some ways Craftworld Eldar as well. But you can't say the same about Orcs. Orcs live and die, and Genesteelcraft, they live and die by their CP usage. If that was an army that had no CPs, you have no army. It's just worse guardsmen.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. No, that's a really good assessment. And Harlequins, I mean, they've got some really good stats. Like everything but their wound characteristic is boss.
And yeah, the toughness in the wound characteristic is the only ones that let them down. Everything else is incredible. Mind you, I do sometimes think that Harlequins shit hit on 2s in combat.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but it's not like none of them do.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a game changer. They're not. They still blend.
Well, I mean, the Troop Master and the Solitaire, and even the Death Jester hits on 2s. It's just their base troops. Now, maybe I guess they're so elite. Maybe not now anymore. Maybe you can have.
Yeah, maybe they are now. Well, so what's the only other troop unit in the game that hits on a 2 is a Custode. Now, how many points does a single Custode do without war gear now? Because we've got 11 points for.
Let me guess. 32.
You have a guess? Yeah, I might pay out here. Custodian Guard, 40 points.
Ugh.
So that's 3 wounds for that Custodian Guard.
He doesn't, not even his weapons in there. He might be 47.
Not even his weapons. Yeah. So with the spear, the Guardian Spear is 9, so he has 49 points.
Oof.
Yeah. So how many Harlequins do you get for that? You almost get 5.
That's almost 5 Harlequins.
It's almost 5 Harlequins now. That's pretty good. That seems good. That's 5 wounds of 4+ invulnerable save Harlequins versus 3 wounds of 4+ invulnerable save Custodes. Yeah. Because they come with the same 4+ invulnerable. The 2+ armor save is obviously phenomenally better than having no armor save. But that one hits on 2s, it'll hit on 3s. Yeah, I think that's pretty funny.
That's not too bad. I think this the ability to deny Overwatch is incredibly relevant right now.
Has never been more relevant.
I mean, with Iron Hands and Tau, and you could just hey man, thanks for charging me and your turn. Thanks for trying to play the game in your turn.
Your turn.
I'm going to start hitting you on 4+ and
yeah. There's one here that I really like. See, I really like the Harlequin characters, the Death Jester, the Shadow Seers, the Solitaires, the Troop Masters, all those. I think they're fantastic. There's a stratagem called Hero's Path. If the start of your movement phase, a Solitaire, Death Jester, and Shadow Seer are within 6 from each other, you can pick them up and redeploy them 9 inches away from an enemy unit. I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, what do you think of some practical applications of that?
So you think about the units that they are. So the Solitaire is, of course, is a combat monster. The Death Jester is a sniper, and the Shadow Seer is a psyker. So you can use that to get either one of those could have a prime turn where they're needed. Like, let's say your Shadow Seer is out of position. They've had to go, all the 3 of those characters had to go dig out someone on the other side of the board. But now you're trying to get aggressive. So your Solitaire and your Shadow Seer need to become relevant. And this is done in the movement phase. So it's done before the psychic, before the fight, and before the shooting phase. So if you pick up all 3 of those units and put them back on the other side of the board, say behind your bikes, and then all of a sudden the Shadow Seer can get off 2 buffs onto your bikes or a debuff onto the opponent. The Solitaire comes into charge range, and the Death Jester all of a sudden might be able to get a prime snipe target. So you can take them from a place of irrelevance to relevance for 2 CP at will. Well, I think can be very powerful.
Also, like, they don't have to be placed near each other. They just have to start near each other. They can
start near each other.
I mean, you could get Line Breaker, Recon, and Hold More. With
literally almost at will at times. I think that is a general's dream stratagem. Just being like, hey, at any point in the game, let's say it's the bottom of the 9th, it's turn 6, you've got like a smattering of Harlequins, so you got like 2 bikes, maybe a couple of troop guys, and you got 3 characters left, and you're like, time to win the game. I got 2 CP, and you can do it. Like in the right hands, a solid, competent general for 2 CP can use this stratagem to win a game. And I think that is.
You're right,
sick.
But I think it's difficult to think that they're all 3 going to be near each other. But you can.
I know.
You can pull them out of combat.
Yeah, what's the thing? It's the start of the movement phase. I was about to say, if it was any time in the movement phase, that could be awesome, because then you could fall back and then auto advance 6 your Solitaire back into. If he's gone and killed something, you fall him back. He's 8 inches. Auto advance him 6. He moves 14 inches back. Move the other 2 up. Now they're all within 9 and 6, and you go and do your thing.
Yeah, but it has restrictions on it. They have to be within 6 inches of each other, and then you have to place them within 9 inches. But there's no other restrictions on it.
Yeah. Well, you have to place them 9 inches away from enemy units, but then they can just split up and do whatever. I like it a lot.
Yeah. No, that definitely has play. I mean, especially for all the things everything we talk about, there's just no one is there.
Yeah.
And then if you happen to, cause I guess, the Death Jester, I mean, it does have one of my criticisms of the unit is that it doesn't have really crazy range.
It's only 36, isn't it?
It's 24-inch range, but his effective threat range is 32 inches. He's not a slouch in combat, really. I mean, he's got those 4 attacks.
Yep.
Could be a little bit better.
But one of the things I like about the Death Jester is one of the relics they can take. So the Dreaming Shadow relic is called Curtain Fall, and it replaces his Shrieker Cannon. And it can do some serious work. It becomes AP 2, and it goes to strength 7. So it becomes 30-inch range, so it gets plus 6 inches. And it does something else. And there's also, that's what it is. There's a stratagem on top of that as well that lets the Shrieker get, I think, D3 damage on his shots.
D3 is pretty good.
Yeah, what's it called? The Shrieking Doom. When firing a Shrieker Cannon or Curtain Fall, it gets plus 1 strength and becomes D3 damage. So I quite like that. All of a sudden, it becomes a very, very potent sniper.
Yeah, the sniper's good. I think taking him is pretty good, I guess, in a way, because he's not a lot of points. Like the Death Jester,
it's quite cheap
for the shots. Is not a ton of points for that slot.
Well, there's a very cheap Vanguard you can do now, where you just take a Shadow Seer or a Troop Master, and you can tool up a Troop Master to be quite a good defensive blender. It doesn't have the reach of a Solitaire, where you can blitz and go from one side of the board to the other, but it can be a very good counter charge, and you can do a lot of killing, a lot of work. But you take a Shadow Seer or a Troop Master, and you take 2 Death Jesters and a Solitaire. That's a very cheap Harlequins detachment that you can slot into another Eldari army, and it adds a whole bucket of different stuff it can do. Like the X factor that the Solitaire brings to an army, any army it's in, is incredible. It really changes the way your opponent has to play.
You were going to talk about the Solitaire earlier.
Yeah, so I've been on the receiving end of the Solitaire before. I played Sean Naden at ETC in 2018, and he had this. I was playing Catachan Carpet Guardsmen. I had like 100 odd Catachan Guardsmen with Strachan and a Priest and all that good stuff. And he blitzed and leapt over all my lines and managed to charge Strachan, a priest, and a Primaris Psyker. Not in all one phase. He fought twice and managed to get to all of them because he's a magician. And yeah, he killed them all. he killed all of them. And then I tried to shoot him back, and he made himself like -2 to hit with a 3+ invul, and I couldn't kill him. So I charged him with Guardsman, and I didn't kill him then either. Like, I got him down to 1 wound, and Sean just kept making his 3+ invuls. And then he flipped out of combat, killed 2 more characters, and I was like, well, I've lost. this one solitaire has
the flip belt. I don't know if you were describing it this way or not, but the solitaire can move across models and terrain as if they were not there, so you can't lock him up. Like if he chooses to fall back and with the rising crescendo, you can't stop him. You know, if unless you somehow got him completely encircled in a 12-inch radius.
So I went in like two fight phases. I went from having 100 Catachan Guardsmen that were extra, plus 2 attacks and plus all this leadership and strength and plus all this good stuff. And I went from them from being super killy good at versus Harlequins to being awful, absolutely awful. From this 184-point dude just walked in and just gutted all my synergy in one turn.
But he's got 8 attacks base, man.
Yeah, and he has I think he can have 11 or 12 somehow.
He can blitz and he gets extra attacks based on how far away he is, I think.
Yeah, and you can fight twice with him, and then you can fight twice with him, and then there's a fight on death stratagem as well. I think it's one of the mask specific ones.
You can you can fight again when you die. Yep.
Yeah, Midnight Sorrow. It's when a character is slain, it can fight again. It's fantastic. And then there's a bunch of relics you can give him. They give him rerolls to wound and extra damage and all this stuff. I've seen him kill 3 demon princes in a turn. Like that's how good this guy can be.
Well, he's a missile. I mean, you have to expect. But see, I think you run the risk of overextending with him. But now you've got these extra ways, gas again to get things up there to support him.
Mm.
And if you can support him, then you work in like a little bit of screening because he's a character, so it's more difficult to target him, and so you get more use out of him. Like it's like a big this chapter approves a big win for Harlequins.
I think it's massive for them. I think I would love to see a mono Harlequins army like take a big scalp at a big event or just come out of nowhere and just crush something. They are one of the absolute icons of 40k, and I want to see them have their day in the sun.
Yeah, it's my first army again. I'll mention.
Really?
Yeah, first army.
Dude, man, those old Harlequin models are actually pretally cool.
They still stand up. They're a little short. Like I've got a bunch of them that they're basically venerated. And I'm going to paint them. But I also like the solitaire has the neural pistol stuff they can't get right now. So I don't want to. And he's really short. Like, you could hide that guy behind a thimble.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm not. We talk about that stuff because it's funny, or sometimes there's a real practical aspect of it. But I don't want everyone to that's not the way to play,
Yeah, unlike the Mandalorian, this isn't the way.
Yeah. But you can tell when you can tell when somebody's just loving on the model for the coolness factor or the nostalgia. It's a little bit.
I do. Yeah. It is different. One thing I just thought of, having a Harlequins army with the Yinkan in it. So you suicide your solitaire, and you're like, the solitaire is going to go and kill all this stuff, and you just use the solitaire to target stuff that's good at killing the Yinkan. And then when they kill the solitaire, bam, it becomes a Yinkan. Like he teleports into where the solitaire was.
He had a point decrease, I think, didn't he? Maybe it was a point decrease in their
Psychic Awakening.
In that, but but I think that there's overall that unit has become a lot more effective.
Yeah, he's 280 points now. I think he's in an alright spot. I think 280 is maybe still a little bit high for him. He'll probably come down about another 20, but not too much more than that. But you can do so much with that model. That model is the king of jank. It is like the whack-a-mole. Where is he going to pop up next? What's he going to do? It's so good in the right hands.
Let me get his stats out. So,
he's a pretty much a demon prince, but
he's got 9 wounds.
Yep.
6 attacks, and he's a character. So, you know what? Good luck.
Can't be shot.
Yep. Summoned by death. When another unit is destroyed after removing the last model in that unit from play, you can remove this model from the battlefield and set it up as close as possible to the previous position of that model, more than 1 inch away from any enemy models. This model cannot charge in a turn in which it was set up in this manner.
Yep. So what you're going to do is try and make it happen in your opponent's, one of the last shooting options for your opponent. Let's say they've got their last 2 units that they can shoot. and they're going to knock off the last one of a 5 or 10 man unit. And all of a sudden, that's where the Incarn goes. You don't do it at the start of your fight phase and leave him exposed. But like at the end of your opponent's shooting phase, you teleport him over somewhere aggressive, and all of a sudden your opponent's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That's actually really, really, really big problem for me, because then he can move, advance, and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And he hits at strength 6 minus 3 or 4 d6 damage, but he rerolls to wound. Is that correct?
When resolving an attack made with this weapon, you can reroll the wound roll.
Nice. Yeah.
D6 damage, too. So
he's pretty good against everything.
Yeah, 6 attacks.
And of course, he brings a whole pile of his own stratagems and psychic powers with him. He casts 2 powers and denies 2, I think.
Yep, can manifest two psychic powers in your psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 psychic phase. Or 1
so
psychic power.
You could stack that. We're taking a bit of Yunari, a bit of Craftworlds, a bit of Harlequins. You got now you have actually 4 psychic tricks to pull from because of the new ones added for Craftworld, Eldar, and Psychic Awakening. So you have a big bucket of synergy to add to that list.
I think there's a place for him. A buddy of mine just did really well with him at a past weekend. You talk about this, the tournament that Ricky Addington, the show he'll be back on. Eventually.
Fantastic.
Ran a grand tournament, and Harlequins won it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
remember what I just said about Harlequins taking a big scalp and winning something, crushing something? Well, I was a prophet.
Yeah, a little bit of a smaller field for sure, but the fact that no one, they may have had a little bit of advantage on their side. No one had ever heard of some of these stratagems before because no one has ever had the CP to use them.
Yeah, that's actually a thing though. In a competitive environment, you got to study books so hard, and usually you're trying to keep up with the current stuff. You can forget about a lot of these stuff that you didn't think is relevant before, but Chapter Approved just brought it to relevance.
Well, we do a lot of this stuff. We eliminate things. We rule out things in our mind that we know we're never. Okay, this is a really outlier. You hear all the time. Well, what about no one in the history of ever is never going to do that. It's not happening. So I don't really. If I plan for that, I'm compromising myself on these other things.
Mm-hmm. Because there's so many things to plan for now. There's so many holes you think you need to have accounted for. You're not thinking about Harlequins.
No.
And maybe that's a sweet spot.
I'm not thinking about Mega Knobs really, even as much. I'm a big fan. They just don't seem to have sunk in as much as I think they should. But
I agree there.
A lot of analysis on Mega Knobs, but if you were to, but I haven't necessarily practically fought against one in a year.
Nah, so true. So, and those things, they just slip from your mind as things you need to take account for. And all these there's a whole new facet of new big baddies take their place. Assault Centurions being probably top of the pile at the moment, having recently toppled the Repulse Rescue.
Yeah, those are still a problem.
G-Dub toppled the Repulse Executioners.
But
we didn't do anything.
This Incarn is stacked up pretty well against even Centurions because of its AP4. And
the rerolls to wound. So one of the big deals about fighting assault centurions is that transhuman physiology. If you think you're going to go in with, say, a smash captain and wound them on 3s or 2s, they'll transhuman and they'll cut the percentage of wounds they take in half or by a third. Whereas the rerolls to wound, if you're making wounds on 4s, wounding on 4s with a reroll, that's not that bad at all.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, this is one of those rerolls where it's not you don't reroll failed. You just reroll to wound. You may reroll a wound.
Yeah. You're right, reroll to win. So yeah, you can really, really take advantage.
Yep, I think this is in a good spot. So I don't know if anybody needed to know this, but Eldari are still pretty good.
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought Eldar would be good again so quickly? I mean, definitely didn't predict that.
Well, man, we're out of time. I know we've spent a little bit on the hobby side, a little bit more on the squishier side. Hope everybody's feeling that, really enthusiastic about the hobby, especially going in to this new cycle, new tournament season starting.
Hope we gave you all the warm and fuzzies about the amazing direction this community and game is going, because I have never been more passionate and more excited about it.
Well, we've certainly alerted people to what is the encroaching Incarn and Harlequin menace.
They're coming for your children, the Harlequins. They're coming to take them away and take them to the Black Library and show them all sorts of stuff.
Well, Adam, man, thanks for joining me. We'll see everybody next week.
Thanks, man. Peace out.
Baby in the corner.